YouTube streets. I'm coming at you with another movie review. This movie review is the name, like it caught my attention right away. And this is without me knowing about any that's in the movie. And this movie here, let me double check this just to be. I know it's Sean Penn, and then the woman that's in the movie, I didn't know who she was. I actually had to check out her I had to check it out. Who is she? She is, I thought she did a really phenomenal job. Cast. There's like almost no one in this movie. Oh, okay, Dakota Johnson. And she's the woman who was in the movies 50 Shades of Grey, which I'm glad I didn't know. Because it kind of would have put a different, maybe, spin on my mind throughout the scene, because the movie takes place in a New York City cab. So we have a woman she's in the airport, JFK airport. She just landed. The cabs are lined up. She gets in a cab, and she's trying to get to Midtown Manhattan. And this is one of the first movies, I have to be honest, that every route that they took from JFK in order to get to Ninth Avenue, Hell's Kitchen, where she was going, it's exactly the route that I would have taken. They didn't show the part where, when they got out of the Midtown Tunnel, how did they get to Ninth Avenue? Or how did they get to, was that Avenue of America? No, that was 8th Avenue. 8th Avenue was going uptown. But let me just say this, they were pretty spot on. Very few movies that I've seen are able to capture New York and its like backgrounds properly. They always just go for more aesthetics, looking for they normally go for, like, what's going to look best on film, opposed to the actual route to take. So it was refreshing, to say the least. It was very refreshing, to say the least. So I'm excited by. I'm excited by. I thought the movie was good. Would I recommend someone go see this movie? I mean, if you're a fan of hers, maybe so. If you're a fan of Sean Penn, absolutely. I was really happy to see Sean Penn in this movie. I haven't seen him in a while. And the guy looked great. He had the perfect New York City 20-year cab driving. It was very realistic. And if we're honest about his age, he probably could have been a 30-year cab driver. He looks like, but he didn't look like that. 20 years, that seemed cool. And it was interesting, the movie, because they were on the Van Wyck Expressway, and there was some sort of accident that they didn't show. All we see is them slowing down in traffic, and then there was this thing where she kind of looked back at the car behind her. So there was this sense of, is there like going to be drama? But they weren't. But there was a couple of little moments where you were wondering, is this movie going to get deeper than it is? Is the movie going to like surprise us? But it didn't. What the movie was representing was great writing. I saw that it was a woman who wrote this movie, and they added you have to think about, 12 Angry Men, the movie where these guys are just sitting in a room, It's about this trial, and you had all these different characters, the 12 men, who were able to keep you interested. Whereas this one is just two people in a cab on their way from Queens to Manhattan. And this is a ride that would normally take 40 minutes tops. It's now taking an hour and a half, an hour and 20 minutes. And it was realistic. It was very realistic. The traffic, there's times I've been in New York where I've turned off the car and just sat in the car for 30 minutes while they picked up the carnage ahead of me. And this is what happened here. The accident, they didn't show any of it. They did show, as they drove by, the police, and there was like a car upside down and stuff from the trunk on the ground, and it looked very realistic. It almost looked like they didn't even need to like, as a film crew, they didn't need to stage that. They didn't need the fire trucks and the police and the accident. It looked like, that's a normal night here in New York City where these things happen. So it's like it could have been B footage. No joke. That's how realistic it appeared. But you have this guy, he's been cabbing it for 20 years, and he's one of those cab drivers that knows everything. He's one of those guys that's been putting it in the streets of New York City for 20 years. And it's these little nuances that give him an idea of who and what this person could be possibly about. So that was kind of cool because it was believable. And then, I don't want to spoil the movie because I do recommend you see it, but you have to be prepared for a movie that is taking place with just two characters inside of a cab, having actual human interactions. And while being in this cab, she starts to open up to the driver about little things at first. It was very gradual, and then it just got deeper and deeper and deeper, and very realistic. The writing was spot on. The acting, Sean Penn. I mean, I've been watching Sean Penn since he was locked up in a prison. What was that? Short Eyes? Was that Short Eyes he was in? I can't remember, but he had filled up like a pillowcase with a bunch of soda cans and went to work on these other prisons. He was like in a juvenile detention facility. So I've been watching Sean Penn for 40 years. And the guy still looks good. He looks like he still works out. He's taking care of himself. So that was cool to see this guy for all these years with, these real acting chops. He can really put it on. It wasn't watching Sean Penn. It was watching this character. His name in the movie was Clark. And at the end of the movie, it went from Clark to Vinny to Mikey. And you got to watch the movie to understand that. But it's worth trying to figure out why Clark, Vinny, and Mikey. Why is that even something? But it was something. It was something cool. And it's like they were sharing stories and almost trying to one up each other with a story about life. And we have this woman here where she's getting all these text messages from her lover, who happens to be a married man. And he starts to break down the role of a side piece. It was really good. He was breaking down the role of her role and maybe how she might have overstepped her role, and how necessary her role is for him. And that's the whole concept of the name of the movie. I think it's Daddio. And what's crazy about the word Daddio is that I used to be a managing partner to a club in the Bronx called Daddio's. So that was like what grabbed my attention to the title, that I was a managing partner to a club in the Bronx, and this movie, they have the same title. So it was spelled a little differently, but it was cool. Do I recommend it? Yeah, I recommend it. But be prepared for just two people and dialogue, real conversations, and real building of 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 us as humans, and just how we just don't know each other. You can't look at a person and think you know even though he's like a smart, savvy guy, he knows everything, he knows people, but you just never know until a person kind of tells you the truth. A person will, you can be duped by what a person wearing on their feet, and the sweater, or their shirts, or their jewelry that they wear. And at the end of the day, we all just people trying to find love, trying to find purpose. And how does a woman find purpose who's dating a married man who has obvious daddy issues? How do you find purpose when you're driving a cab knowing that you're like Blockbuster and BlackBerry, where your yellow cab is going to be obsolete soon for autonomous vehicles? How do you find how do you keep moving forward in a world where you kind of know the outcome, and you know how this is going to end up, but yet you still have to walk forward in this world? You still have to, I guess, be true to yourself and be true to your purpose, while looking for purpose, and while knowing the ending of your story might not be something that you would voluntarily sign up for, but you do. So this movie was a basket weaving of intellectual, like intellectual, I don't know the words to put together, but this writer did know a lot of words to put together, and they put it together really well. So kudos to the director and the writers and the actors that put this movie where you find yourself wanting to see the end, wanting to see where this goes. There was a small part of me that I wanted Sean Penn to get laid. I wanted him to like smash, because he kind of like could have smashed a little bit at the end, but and he was willing to smash. He got out the car to get her bag, and he walked her to the door, and she like caressed his face, like as a thank you. She was like doing this kind of thing, and he was like, I could smash, and she was like, yeah, you could. So it was kind of like, it wasn't uncomfortable or anything like that. It was just very human. So you get a chance, check this out. I'm Big Elvis the Chef Rosenberg with another movie review, and I love you. So if you're looking for love, I just told it to you. Come on.